Good morning. I am sitting in my dressing gown on the swing at the top of our garden, just enjoying this amazing summer morning. And I wanted to share with you this understanding which has come to me this week about a realistic approach to evolving growing out of dysfunctional eating patterns. Because sometimes I find it hard to communicate in nuanced terms what it is that I offer as a food psychology coach. Because food psychology doesn't come with the same promises as the conventional health market. The promises of losing 10 pounds or losing specific amounts of weight or losing any weight perhaps, or the promises of being binge free or actually all of these promises of freedom and breakthrough. I'm not even sure that's how it looks for me. I was a binge eater 25 years ago, and I don't consider myself to be a binge eater now, but I do still my own fair share of overeating and emotional eating, which I'm learning about, and which has been a much more sort of tenacious habit. And sometimes I feel really impatient with myself about it. And other times I think, you know what, I'm actually learning to be an emotional human being from having grown up as an emotionally avoidant person, which has showed up in having party habits, over drinking habits, other kinds of compulsions like caffeine has been a huge sort of dragon that I've wrestled in my life, because I put a lot of pressure on myself to be high performing, productive, but also to kind of be an outgoing version of myself. I was speaking to a client this week, and it's a couple of years since we started to work together. We don't work together anymore. She's now completely capable of coaching herself, but we meet sometimes to just do our food journals together, or start our days together. She first came to me binge eating through the day and really overcome with anxiety, work stress, what gradually revealed itself to be complete burnout, really, from a very high-powered government job. And she said, you know, that she is fine with not having stopped overeating, but the food psychology journey has given her, she said, the feeling that she's not nuts anymore, an understanding of her eating as a message from herself, so that she uses it as the kind of canary in the coal mine to read her own emotional state in a way that would be kind of off her radar otherwise. She said she has the tools to be able to cope with it. And she said it's diminishing over time and she's in no rush. And I thought, wow, those 4 things, that's real progress. Now that might not sound like a really sexy before and after transformation, but actually what counts, what creates a sort of seismic shift in our life is these small shifts in paradigm, really, around our eating, because she said otherwise I would have just kept on trying to control the eating part and getting madder and madder. And she also said that, of course, when we lifted the stone of the eating, then we found all of the other things hiding underneath it. The relationship with work and burnout, our avoidance in our, marriages and primary relationships, and our emotional avoidance patterns. For her, it even took her into looking at her religious childhood and the impact that had had on her. She said, I had no idea how much all of that was at work. The kind of pressures to be a good person, growing up in a rule-based environment, and how the sort of wider, deeper journey has really been about learning to choose for herself what she wants in her life, both on her plate, but also more widely in her work life, and beyond. And so food psychology, when it sits at its best, is a really beautiful starting point for exploring your relationship with yourself and your emotional life and your self-esteem, and building self-esteem through deliberate self-talk and building confidence to make choices and trade-offs, to say yes to some things and no to others, and to encourage yourself out of perfectionistic, I'm not good enough thinking. And that, food is the topic, but the journey is usually about something far more profound. And Mark David from the Institute of the Psychology of Eating, who I initially trained with, and who takes quite a psychotherapeutic or philosophical approach to all of this, always said, how we eat is a metaphor for how we live. And when we see food as really just the thing that brings you into therapy, and then the therapy is lateral to that in many ways, then the whole thing becomes much more interesting, much less about trying to control calories and body shape, and much more about trying to learn about who you've become and why it is that we're trying to control our emotional states, what we're holding on to, what we're trying to hold the reins of, what responsibilities we're carrying, these bigger issues. I think of it as being personal transformation, with food as the thing that's called us into action. Food being the thing that's hit the fire alarm, but it's not the fire. Food psychology journey has been, so enriching. And I don't know if I would have discovered the things I've discovered about myself, how I am in relationships, how I am emotionally, without that provocation. If you're curious to begin your food psychology journey, or to really explore through that lens, then I have both a fundamental module and an advanced course called Sensational Eater. And Sensational Eater is really about looking through the eating into your body image, looking at your self-esteem and your beliefs about yourself, and using it as an opportunity to change some of those beliefs about yourself that show up. If you believe you're not a good person around food, the chances are you believe that in other places in your life too. So continuing to evolve those things about yourself. And we look at our thoughts and our self-talk. We retrain our self-talk through it with loads of hypnosis at every module. And there are workbooks which are vibrant and illustrated and have places to write, and which you're encouraged to highlight and scribble upon. And of course, we look at eating technique as part of that, and building in systems where you are the authority on your own eating, and you take it under your wing and start to lovingly, willingly make choices to eat and to not eat things. And this is more about building in lifelong systems of genuine lifestyle change than me giving you a plan and saying, here you are, just do this Pilates routine and eat this breakfast every day and you'll be fine. It's about you becoming the authority on your own eating and really having a journey which is your own, because ultimately, as John Kabat-Zinn said, feeding ourselves is a fundamental act of autonomy. And I'm just one step on your journey, helping you to create the ability to self-coach so that you can keep going, keep evolving, keep diminishing your overeating for all time.